Hello, I'm Blaine Cronrath, and I've just finished reading the book Quiet Leadership by David Rock. Now, the main focus of Quiet Leadership is David Rock is talking about management styles that are going to help improve people's performance at work. Traditionally, the management style has been the boss tells the employee what to do and the employee does it. Now, when you're looking at process workers, which is what we're going to have in factories, where people are working upon the assembly line, or where people are simply doing one particular task, you can get away with telling people what to do and expect that they'll go and do it, and they'll do it well enough. The problem is today, most of the employees are going to be knowledge workers, and knowledge workers need a different approach. With the knowledge worker, if they come to you with a problem, and you go and you give them the answer to their problem because you ran it through your system, you gave them a solution that you are going to be able to implement. But just because you can implement that solution doesn't mean the employee can. What David Rock argues is that our goal as managers is not so much to tell people what to do, but rather to help people learn how to think through their problems. The more we can encourage people to think through their problems, the less they're going to be bringing those problems to us. If we want to improve performance, we don't do it by telling people what they should do. We do it by asking them questions about whatever problem it is they bring to us. As you read through the book, David talks about different strategies that can be used to sort of help people think about their problems in a different way. For the most part, what you're going to read about is different ways of asking reflective questions. If an employee comes to you, let's say, and they don't know how they're going to meet an upcoming deadline, they feel like the task is just taking too long, they're not going to be able to get it done within the next week. Instead of just sitting here and saying, well, you have a week to get it done, or let's move that deadline for you, you ask them a question like, how long have you been feeling this way? And let them sort of go through the process of how long. What would it take for you to meet this deadline? And they go through that process, and you just continue to ask them questions that get them reflecting. And generally speaking, if you're asking those reflective questions through the conversation, the employee is going to come up with the answer on their own. Now, I can't speak for everybody in every situation, but I can say for myself, the managers I've had that have been the most effective for me are the ones that have taken this process of helping me to reflect through my problems. Because when I reflect through the problem, I find the solution that's going to work for me. One, I mean, just because somebody tells me how they would do something doesn't mean I'm going to be able to do it in that same way. But two, it also gives me some agency and it helps me to realize that I can. I've grown quite a bit as a leader throughout my years of service, simply because I've had managers that have really helped me to think through my problems. Now, one of the biggest things that a person can really take out of this book, Quiet Leadership, is the choose your focus model. In the choose your focus model, David Rock suggests that we choose the focus through which we look at a problem. And he says there are five different frames in which we can look at a problem. We have the vision frame, which is just our overall vision. What do we want? What are we hoping to accomplish? What's the end goal going to look like? We have the planning frame. The planning frame is I'm looking at it just as it says through the planning of this process. How am I actually going to act upon whatever my vision is? We have the detail frame, and here is where I'm really getting down into the nitty-gritty details. This is where I'm not just putting my plan together, but I'm operationalizing my plan so that I can actually act upon it. We've got the problem frame. The problem frame is I'm just looking at the problem. I'm focused on the problem itself. There are times when the problem frame can be useful for us. Most of the time, we're going to be better off looking at solutions than we are looking at problems. And then we have the drama frame. Now, we've all been in the drama frame at some point or another. This is when we essentially start to panic. The lizard brain takes over, and we're just sort of going through and responding to the situation without actually being able to think or reflect. The drama frame, there are times when we can't avoid it, where our lizard brain takes over, as I said, but the drama frame is never going to be a frame from which you solve a problem. It's a frame that you sometimes find yourself stuck in, but you're not going to solve your problem until you get out of that drama frame. Now, the Choose Your Focus model brings together all of the ideas from within this book, Quiet Leadership. David Rock gives us 6 steps for how we can transform performance at work. And I would say, from what I've read, from my own experience within leadership, the ideas that he puts forward are ideas that will work, ideas that a person can act upon. If you're having a hard time getting your employees to change, you're trying to improve that performance, you're going through the PIP process, you're telling people what you want from them, and just nothing's changing, Quiet Leadership might be a book worth considering for you. It could be a good read with some good strategies that you'd be able to act upon. Overall, for me, I would say this book was about a 3 out of 5. It was a good read. It had valuable strategies in it, but nothing transformationally new. If you're familiar with the research on leadership, this is in line with what the current conversation is. If you found this book review helpful, feel free to subscribe to this channel so that you can hear reviews of other books that I happen to read through.